Do a torque converter pre-fill. A torque converter, or the clutch replacement in most electric motors today, requires a certain level of fluid for the machine to function properly. It replaces the reduction gear, which transforms a smaller force into much bigger, useful amounts. A torque converter is often used for machines that require hauling or incredible amounts of energy. There is a proper way of filling a torque converter, which is listed below. Ready your stock of transmission fluid. Have your container of transmission fluid ready. Check the interior of your torque converter to see if there are any stray materials inside that can cause damage when it is used. If there is some leftover fluid from its previous use, leave it inside. It is acceptable to mix the fluids once inside the torque converter. Find a spot in your garage that has a very flat surface and where you will be relatively undisturbed, since you do not want to contaminate the fluid and be frequently disturbed while pre-filling your torque converter. Pour the fluid into the torque converter. Start pouring your transmission fluid very carefully into the torque converter's cavity. Do this slowly since you might spill some fluid unnecessarily. Pour about a pint or two of the fluid, then pause to let the bubbles come up to the surface. Tilt around the torque converter to make sure you spread the liquid evenly. Move around the torque converter to release bubbles from the fluid. To help hasten the release of the bubbles, shake the torque converter's cavity gently to help ease out the bubbles. Too much air trapped in the torque converter will not contribute to efficient combustion and force conversion. Do not shake the torque converter too much or else you might spill some of the fluid. Just a gentle side-to-side movement will work. Fill the torque converter in phases. Pour another pint or two of the transmission fluid and then gently shake the container to rid of the bubbles again. Do this until you have nearly filled the whole container. Pour the fluid until it reaches the brim. Gently pour additional transmission fluid until it reaches the brim. It is safer to have excess transmission fluid inside your torque converter than to suddenly run out of it in the middle of your trip. With practice, you should be able to finish this task in less than 15 minutes. If your hands are a bit on the shaky side, ask someone else to do the pouring for you. Just oversee the process to make sure that the cavity is filled properly. You can help your partner by holding the torque converter in place as he pours in the transmission fluid. Do this in a well-lit area so that you can easily see if the cavity is nearly filled to the brim. Changing your car's transmission fluid seems like an intimidating task, but as you can see from the steps listed above, This is something that you can do on your own. You can save a couple of dollars by doing it on your own instead of bringing into the shop.